All right, everyone, welcome back into another props video. Give me a touch on the top prop bets for the Sunday night showdown between the Miami Dolphins and the Buffalo Bills. Looking at the game preview, it is projected to be a high-scoring game, which, as you guys know by now, in these primetime games means nothing. It's probably going to be the exact opposite. I'm mostly joking, but it is crazy how frequently that has happened thus far, making a lot of prop bets based off of how the game is supposed to go on, stacks, and then the opposite happens. It's been but all in all, it should be a fun game. They're playing for the second seed. It's a 3-point spread. Looking at it, guys, Miami is actually underdogs at home simply because, I shouldn't say simply because, well, the Bills have been playing well, but also because they're going to be without Jaden Waddle, most likely, and also Raheem Mostert. And so I think that is a big factor into why Buffalo is favored to win. But we have seen ODDSJAM is a pretty good running back. I'll mention another running back that I like, Chris Brook. But the biggest question mark for Miami is who is going to be the receiver number 2. It's most likely going to be Cedric, okay, but I really don't mind that idea of getting on a little bit of Braxton Berrios. He is someone that's going to play basically the same role that he has been playing, with the only difference being that I think we can guarantee, we can predict better that he's actually going to be involved in the game plan, whether it's, just getting 2 targets, getting a reception. I do think he's going to be involved. It's probably going to be literally 13 yards or so. His total reception total should be at 1.5. I would assume that'd be favoring the under slightly there, but all in all, I do think he's going to be on the field. I do think he's going to be a good option. Do want to call it that in the last game against the Buffalo Bills, he was a player that really dominated in that game. Now, it was a bit of a blowout, but I do think it's noteworthy. Then getting back into the snaps, ODDSJAM played about 50% of the snaps. Jeff Wilson played about 50. Then my personal favorite Dolphins running back, Chris Brooks, only played 7.6. He's not going to play that much. That was his first game back from injury. It was kind of unfortunate that the timing of his injury, because I think he could have been, for fantasy football purposes, a little bit of a DFS darling or fantasy football darling. Brooks is someone that popped during the preseason. And I'm just saying this because if he does have a small role in this game, it wouldn't be that shocking, like 15% of the snaps. Now I do expect it to be 45-45 Wilson ODDSJAM. And looking at it, there's no reason why we shouldn't expect ODDSJAM to at least get 13 opportunities in this game. I would think that's probably going to be more than that. But the biggest issue that I have with ODDSJAM is if you look at all of his big games, they've all come out in blowouts against Baltimore, blowout against Washington, blowout, okay, and then against New York, a blowout as well. And then you look at Denver, a blowout as well. We have not really gotten a good indication of ODDSJAM as a runner in games that they're evenly matched, like Vegas is saying that they are in this game. So to me, it wouldn't be shocking if we see maybe more of this like we saw against the Jets. And that's why I'm saying probably around 13 opportunities rather than, 20. And so to me, I could see this being a game in which Jeff Wilson Jr. actually gets a little bit more run on the ground. He was actually used a little bit more in the passing game, which to me has been a little bit shocking. That's been a shocking development. We actually saw him take over a little bit of the passing down work from Mostert when he was in there. And then we take a peek at the Buffalo Bills here just real quickly as well. Looking at the snap counts, Khalil Shakir came back and played. I shouldn't say came back and played. He's been active, but when Dawson Knox was back, we actually saw Shakir's snap counts go down, which to me was a little bit shocking. And then last week they were back up. Dalton Kincaid playing 56% of the snaps. Again, a little bit shocking to me. James Cook only 55% of the snaps in that game. We actually saw Latavius Murray play about 30%. But I will say that matchup against New England was definitely a different one in the sense that that's a game in which you really try not to beat yourself, even though, Josh Allen was certainly trying to do that. This is a game against Miami that should be more high scoring. So I have no idea what to expect for the snaps for Khalil Shakir in this game. I really don't. Dalton Kincaid as well. I have no idea. He had a very good game against New England. The data last week, guys, I'm actually curious if it's saying that again today. No, it's actually liking the under here. And I'll get into this in just a second. The data last week was all over Dalton Kincaid having a strong game. And I was really shocked at that one. All in all, it worked out. And so with that, let's actually go ahead and get into the prop bets that we are getting for this game. Let's start out with the Buffalo Bills. And so looking at it right now for Buffalo, we are going to get more props simply because they're not as banged up as the Miami Dolphins. And right away, we can see 2 props that we are seeing are going to be the 2 tight ends, where the under receiving yards is kind of a decent bet. Now, personally, I don't like these ones. The edges that we are seeing here to me are small. 31.5 to 33.5 receiving yards is not that big of a difference, even though if it's the under at 31.5 is favored, about 51% or so. Like, oh no, I don't want to touch those ones. We are getting James Cook for under 14.5 for a fantasy score. I do think that that one is kind of interesting. One I think we're talking over. So James Cook is definitely someone I have no idea what to do with. He has looked good on the ground. He's looked like someone that they need to continue to get the football. Against Dallas, who was best rush defense at the time, he crushed them. Okay, had a pretty good game against KC. I mean, he carried a lot of people to championships and season-long leagues for fantasy football, and then they were disappointed against the Chargers, which should have been a smash spot. Or last week against New England, also should have been a smash, or also not a smash spot, sorry, but also a difficult day for him DFS wise. And so I don't know what to do with that. He was still the running back that got the most snaps. He does have big explosion, and we saw him have 1 catch, 48 yards, a big explosion play in that game against Miami. And so for me, I don't really want to bet James Cook to get under his receiving or under his fantasy score, simply because he can get involved in the pass. He could have a random good game. We saw last week Josh Allen got 2 rushing touchdowns. Now, that's not to say that James Cook is going to get 2 rushing touchdowns, but he is someone that certainly can get going. One prop bet that we saw on Underdog being a good prop bet was actually James Cook for under 14.5 rush attempts. If that one is still there, that's a good EV bet. But all in all, I don't know if we should be touching James Cook at all. To me, really just feels like a stay away. And then from there, we look at all the prop bets that we are getting for the Bills. Josh Allen, fantasy score is one that's not the best. We see James Cook, again, rush attempts, guys. That'll be a decent one, I guess, on Underdog. But yeah, I'm a little bit surprised that Diggs for over 5.5 receptions is not one that's popping up more data-wise. We are just not really getting that many good prop bets here. So all in all, for me, I just feel like for the Bills right now, they just seem like stayaways. Now I'll jump into Underdog here, seeing if we're getting any better prop bets there on Underdog for the Bills, and we are. So personally, though, 2 that I like would be Diggs for over his fantasy score here. A little bit touchdown dependent. Again, I kind of think he's going to have a good game. And then Gabe Davis over 2.5 receptions. If I had to choose 2 prop bets for this squad, it'd be those 2. So with that, let's go ahead and jump on and get into Miami, who hopefully will be a little bit easier to predict. So looking at Miami, not that many good prop bets as well. I will just mention that, like, you got Tyreek Hill at 7 receptions. Obviously, that's a high total. You do expect him to get to 7 receptions. The one that I probably would go in on would be Braxton Berrios for over 1.5 receptions. I didn't look at this before, but like literally this is what I was thinking when I was mentioning Braxton Berrios as a prop bet. It's a small edge, about 51% here. I would agree that this is a good prop. Like I think he's going to be on the field about 50% this time, a little bit less than that. But if it's going to be as high scoring as it is, I expect them to get Braxton Berrios the ball in a couple of unique situations. The one worry would be is if he gets like an end around instead of like that, which is how he gets used a little bit, especially with Waddle out, and they're not going to use Achane in that role as much. Probably it's going to be more Cedric Wilson. They still have Jeff Wilson there, though, who can operate as the RB1 for Mostert, and Achane could kind of still get his normal role. That's kind of the weird wrinkle, guys, with this Miami offense. But all in all, if I had to choose one for Miami, I think it'd be that one. But we are seeing Tua Tagovailoa for under fantasy score on Underdog is a good one. Let's jump on into PrizePicks as well, seeing if we're getting any good ones there for Miami. And no, not really. I don't like the rush yards. I do want to take a peek at Durham Smythe, because we did see his receptions was one that was kind of popping up on Underdog. And we have seen he has been over 2.5 receptions in 3 straight games. The last game against Buffalo, he did get 4. Man, maybe there's something there. So Underdog, I guess I could go. Let's just give an Underdog slip. I think that's the better way to go. And just real quickly, guys, I don't want to encourage these Demon or Goblin prop bets, but they are available if you just go to PrizePicks NFL -Demon/Goblins included. The top tab is not going to include that. This is going to include it. So as you guys can see, we're really not getting that many good ones at all in general. Like if you want to do Tyreek Hill over 69.5 receiving yards, you could. Same thing with Gabe Davis, but all in all, those are not really big edges. Those are not really worthwhile, especially given the payout give to me. I think that's just a stay away. Now let's go ahead and get into the Underdog bet of the day. And so for me, this is definitely not smart. I just want to start that off with saying Diggs for receiving touchdowns is not the best idea. I will say it's basically will he score a touchdown. I do like the game total, and I do like that his over fantasy score was being favorited as one of the better prop bets that we were getting. And so in my head, I'm like, how is that going to happen? Well, it's probably going to be because he scores a touchdown. That increases the likelihood a lot if he's getting the over fantasy score. So to me, if we were going to place that over fantasy score prop bet, to me, let's do the touchdown one instead. Then I'm going to toss in the 2 Miami ones. This one is my personal favorite here, the Braxton Berrios. It's ugly. I mean, this feels a lot like Jonathan. No, I feel like I got more lucky with the Texans Colts game than anything. That game was ugly. I didn't think it was going to be a game we wanted to target. That's kind of how I feel about Barris. I'm including it in there to make it a 3-slip bet because obviously on underdog, it pays out better. It's typically the route that I like to go on because you're getting an extra unit 1 on this side rather than on PrizePicks, and that's why I'm giving you guys Durham Smythe over 2.5 receptions is a good prop bet as well. You could toss in Gabe Davis for over 2.5 receptions as well instead of Diggs if you wanted to as well. Like, that's all option for you. Just a reminder, if you guys use the underdog slip and you haven't signed up before, use the promo code 905 to get 100% match on deposit up to $100. Thank you guys for watching. If you guys enjoyed the video, make sure to give a like and subscribe. Honestly, guys, do hit the like button. That's been lagging a little bit. I hate to say that, but I do appreciate everyone in here. If you guys want access to the tools, head on over to 95sports.com, available for $10 a month. Thanks for watching. Let's have a good site. And as always, let's keep cash.